Empress Elizabeth of Austria, affectionately known as Sisi, was born on December 24, 1837, in Munich, Bavaria. She was born into the noble Bavarian Wittelsbach family as the daughter of Duke Maximilian Joseph in Bavaria and Princess Ludovica of Bavaria. Sisi grew up in the Bavarian countryside, surrounded by nature and enjoying a relatively free-spirited and unstructured childhood. Her parents were unconventional for their time. Her father, Duke Maximilian, preferred a simple life, often traveling and spending time with his children, allowing them a lot of freedom. This upbringing was significantly different from the courtly, rigid environment she would later encounter as Empress of Austria. From a young age, Elizabeth loved horseback riding and spending time in nature, especially around Lake Starnberg, where her family had a summer residence. She was a sensitive child, prone to melancholy, and this disposition would follow her throughout her life. Unlike many other royal children, Elizabeth had little formal education, and her carefree childhood lacked the rigorous preparation for court life that many future queens and empresses typically received. Marriage to Emperor Franz Joseph I, Sisi's life took an unexpected turn in 1853 when she was 15 years old. Her mother's sister, Archduchess Sophie of Austria, had planned for Sisi's elder sister, Helene, to marry her son, Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria. The meeting between the two families took place in the Austrian resort of Bad Ischl, but instead of falling in love with Helene, the young emperor was captivated by Sisi's beauty, charm, and youthful spirit. Franz Joseph was determined to marry Elizabeth, and despite some initial reservations from both families, the marriage was arranged. On April 24, 1854, Elizabeth married Franz Joseph in the St. Augustine Church in Vienna. She was just 16 years old, while the emperor was 23. Overnight, Sisi became the Empress of Austria, stepping into one of the most powerful and conservative monarchies in Europe. However, this marriage thrust Elizabeth into a life of strict court protocol, and she soon realized that the glamorous title of Empress came with immense pressure and personal sacrifice. Life at the Austrian court. Vienna's court was notoriously rigid and conservative, governed by strict etiquette and dominated by Archduchess Sophie, who had strong political influence over her son Franz Joseph. Elizabeth, with her free-spirited upbringing, found it incredibly difficult to adjust to the stifling formality of the Austrian court. She quickly realized that she had little autonomy in her new life. Archduchess Sophie controlled many aspects of court life and even the upbringing of Elizabeth's children, which caused a significant rift between the two women. Sisi gave birth to her first child, a daughter named Sophie, in 1855, followed by another daughter, Gisela, in 1856. However, Elizabeth was not allowed to raise her daughters, as Archduchess Sophie believed the young empress was too inexperienced. Elizabeth's relationship with her mother-in-law grew more strained, and in 1857, during a trip to Hungary, tragedy struck. Both of her daughters contracted an illness, and her firstborn, Sophie, died at the age of 2. This event deeply affected Elizabeth, leading her to withdraw further from court life and sparking a lifelong battle with depression. Elizabeth gave birth to her son and heir to the throne, Crown Prince Rudolph, in 1858, followed by another daughter, Marie Valerie, in 1868. While she doted on her children, her relationship with Rudolph was distant due to her struggles with court life and mental health. Her intense involvement in Marie Valerie's upbringing later became a focal point of her life, as she sought to create a more nurturing and independent environment for her youngest daughter. Health and beauty obsession. Elizabeth became increasingly preoccupied with her health and appearance as a way to cope with the emotional and psychological toll of her life as empress. She was renowned for her striking beauty, particularly her long chestnut hair, which reached her ankles. Her beauty became a significant part of her identity, and she took extreme measures to maintain it. Elizabeth adhered to rigorous beauty regimens, spending hours each day washing and styling her hair, exercising, and maintaining a strict diet. She was known for her slender figure, which she maintained by fasting and exercising obsessively. In an era when women were expected to conform to societal standards of beauty and decorum, Elizabeth's appearance became both her armor and her prison. She was painfully aware of the public's scrutiny and felt immense pressure to live up to her reputation as one of Europe's most beautiful women. Sisi also suffered from various health issues, including respiratory problems, and she traveled extensively to health spas and warmer climates in an attempt to improve her health. Escape through travel. As Elizabeth's mental health deteriorated, she increasingly withdrew from the Austrian court and began to travel extensively across Europe. She visited countries such as Hungary, Greece, England, and Italy, often staying away from Vienna for long periods. Her love for Hungary, in particular, became a defining aspect of her later life. She developed a strong emotional connection to the Hungarian people and their culture, advocating for the dual monarchy of Austria-Hungary in 1867, which granted Hungary more autonomy within the empire. Elizabeth's travels served as an escape from the stifling court life in Vienna and the personal tragedies that haunted her. She found solace in the beauty of nature and the freedom that came with anonymity in foreign lands. Her wanderlust also allowed her to indulge her passion for horseback riding and fencing, activities that were seen as unconventional for women of her time. Personal tragedies. Elizabeth's life was marked by a series of personal tragedies that deepened her sense of isolation and melancholy. The death of her daughter Sophie in 1857 was the first major blow, but perhaps the most significant tragedy came in 1889 with the death of her only son, Crown Prince Rudolf. Rudolf and his lover, Baroness Mary Wetzera, died in what is now known as the Mayerling incident. The circumstances surrounding their deaths remain a mystery, but it is widely believed that they died in a murder-suicide pact. Rudolf's death was a devastating blow to Elizabeth and Franz Joseph, and Elizabeth never fully recovered from the loss. Rudolf's death deepened Elizabeth's already profound sense of despair and disconnection from the world. She became more withdrawn, often dressing in black and traveling incessantly to escape her grief. She distanced herself even further from the responsibilities of her position as empress and from her husband, who remained devoted to her despite their emotional distance. Assassination and legacy. Elizabeth's life came to a tragic end on September 10, 1898, when she was assassinated by an Italian anarchist named Luigi Luciani in Geneva, Switzerland. Luciani had originally intended to kill another royal figure, but when that opportunity did not arise, he targeted Elizabeth, stabbing her in the heart with a sharpened file. Elizabeth died shortly after the attack, and her death shocked Europe. Elizabeth's legacy is a complex one. In her lifetime, she was admired for her beauty and elegance, but she was also a deeply troubled figure who struggled with the constraints of her role as empress. Her personal tragedies, mental health issues, and reclusive nature set her apart from other royals of her time, and her life became the subject of fascination for many historians and biographers. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel.